Hey, so it's that time of year. We're getting into September. I absolutely love Septembers. To me, September is the new January. This is the time of year when, if you have big goals for the upcoming year, you're really starting to think now what needs to happen before that to set me up for success. I was joking today with some um, people in my course that the last quarter of the year is the pregame before the new year. And so this is really when I think a lot of successful people are starting to think about reverse engineering the big things that they want starting in January. If you want really big things to start happening for you in the beginning of 2021, you don't start at the beginning of 2021. You have to start, before that, right? And one of the ways that I think a lot of super successful people become that way is by implementing very specific habits. And I think, what's cool about this is that when you start to get really good at implementing habits that, what I call success habits. So habits that make you feel good, habits that make you money, habits that um, make you more comfortable, like, habits that keep your house clean, habits that keep you healthy, habits that make you money, habits that make you feel more connected with the people that you live with or work with, or your family or your friends and all that stuff. When you put those things into place, you don't have to think about, hey, what do I need to do today to feel successful? You just do them subconsciously, right? So this is like any habit. Obviously, everybody knows how a habit works. I actually have a whole video on habits versus systems that I should share. But this is what I find really intriguing about habits is that once you put them into place and once they become a habit, you start doing them on autopilot. And so what I thought is, what are some of the habits that, if I could tell a new entrepreneur or any entrepreneur, like, start these now if you want to start having major success in the new year, what would those habits be? So I started thinking about those today, and I thought I would share them with you now. So if you're looking to implement some habits before the new year, these are the three that I would consider. So the first one is having a daily profit habit. So this is the thing that makes you some cash. Obviously, these habits are going to be based around running an online business. I'm sure there are some other habits that you should have, like drink water in the morning or make your bed or like stuff like that. But these are the habits specifically for business. So the first thing that I really believe in is having daily profit habits. These are things that you need to put in place that make bring in cash. So I want you to assess your business and see, what are the things, if I go live on Instagram, I always get DMs, or what are the things that actually get you results in your business? Every time I send an email, I make a sale. Every time, my ad converts, I book a sales call. Like, what are the things that you notice are actually working? If I send voice notes, then I start a conversation and I'm more likely to book a discovery call with someone, or things like that. Every time I do a webinar, I make a sale. Okay, enough examples. These are your profit habits, and you want to find a way to do these every single day. I have a whole freebie called the Big Four, my daily non-negotiables. I obviously never shut up about them, but if you're new here, these are the 4 things that I really recommend doing every single day in order to hit your first 10K month and really start to have that snowballing business success. It's free, you can get it at alyssacoleman.ca/big. But even if you already know about the non-negotiables, even if you have read the freebie, you've downloaded it, but you're not making it a habit, this is the first thing that I would really recommend doing. So get your profit habits. So those are the 4 that I recommend in that Big Four. But I want you to assess your business and say, okay, what are the things that are actually working for me, and create a habit of doing them first thing at your desk every single day. So that's number 1. It's a habit. For me now, it's really effortless. I don't even think about it. In the beginning, I was very strategic about blocking off time in my calendar and almost forcing myself to do them until they became natural. Because for a lot of us, these marketing techniques and these profit habits are just not something that we would normally do in our everyday life. So it doesn't come naturally to everyone, right? So I had to really work at this. And then now it's become more normal and just part of my every week routine in my business. Which leads me to habit number 2, which is to know how to have your own entrepreneurial schedule. So my calendar is my boss. I never shut up about my calendar because it's just like, I love it so much because it really is the only thing that keeps me on track with what needs to be accomplished in my business. If you've got big goals, it's really hard to just like keep all those moving pieces running really smoothly. If you've got a team, if you have different deliverables that need to happen, if you have clients that you need to deliver services to or you have calls with, it's hard to manage all of that just on your own. And you should have project management systems and stuff like that. But to me, the number one thing that makes me successful is having a calendar that does the majority of the heavy lifting for me. So when I'm in my CEO mindset, so when I'm at my best, when I'm inspired and creative and I'm breaking down what needs to happen in order for me to hit that big Q4 target, I put all of those things into my calendar. So when it's time for me to just show up and be the employee for my own business, I don't have to think about it. I just can execute, because I think this is where a lot of entrepreneurs kind of they have this resistance, because there's a dichotomy between needing to be the CEO, the visionary, and needing to also a lot of times be the person who is executing certain things, who has to show up and film this video. I have to be an entrepreneurial, an employee mindset right now in order to get this video done. If I was in CEO mode, I'd be thinking about all the next 20 videos I want to create and who's going to edit it and how this is all going to go. But you need to separate the two, and my calendar really does that for me. I open my calendar in the morning, and I know exactly what I need to do, and that's a habit. And the way that you can create that habit is by putting time in your calendar, either every Friday before you leave your desk, Sunday, before you start the new week, or Monday first thing when you get to your desk. Looking at your calendar and creating an action plan of here's everything that needs to happen this week and exactly when it's going to get done. Now, there's a part 2 of this habit, which is to actually execute on all of those things. And this was a really hard one for me to learn, but now it's a habit. If something is in my calendar, I just do it. I don't negotiate with my calendar anymore. I used to, but I've learned the hard way, and you've probably heard me say this before, negotiating with my calendar is negotiating with my dreams, and I don't do that. So if it's in my calendar, I get it done. Obviously, sometimes life comes up, or you're traveling and you need to move some things around. That's life, but for the most part, 99% of the time, what's in my calendar gets executed. If it's an appointment with a client or if it's a task that I need to get done, regardless, it's getting done, and it's getting done in the time frame that I say it's going to. And so that's where you have to really learn how long things actually take you, and you have to be more realistic with yourself, which is another thing that took me a long time, because I always would say like, oh yeah, I'll get that done in 10 minutes. And then it would take me 20 minutes and I'd be like, I'm behind and everything is like, going to shit. And then I'd be panicking. So I had to get realistic with how long things take me and then stick to those time frames. But now it's just a habit. Every single week, I go into my calendar, I put those things in there that need to happen. I move the things around that need to be moved around. And then when I get to my desk on Monday, I just execute. So habit number 2 is having a calendar that really does the work for you, and I just execute. Habit number 3 of really successful people is that they prioritize consistency. And I think this is an interesting one. And one that I think plagues a lot of entrepreneurs too, because we're idea people, right? So there's always some new shiny object. There's always a new strategy. There's always a new system. There's always a new course. There's always a new idea just right around the corner. But what really successful people prioritize is becoming consistent at one thing before adding in another thing. And so consistency is the key. And I've noticed this so much in my business. The more consistent we are, the more our audience responds to what we do. So if you can really master consistency in what you're putting out and also what you're doing inside your business, you will notice that return pretty quickly. And I think that that also applies to how you start to implement these habits too. So yeah, I just mentioned 3 habits, but I think if you focus on mastering the first one and becoming really consistent with it before you start adding in a new habit, that's really going to be the most effective way to go about this, and an overall strategy for everything that you do in your business. So you know, you can apply this to all different areas. For example, if you have multiple offers in your business, you might notice that you're not getting as great results. Whereas if you focus on just creating one offer, put all of your attention on mastering the sales process for that offer, fully booking out that offer, and becoming a pro there before you move on to the next thing, I think you'll start to notice that that starts to layer and have kind of a stacking effect, as opposed to putting out 5 offers and directing your attention in all these areas. And you think, if I have 5 offers, I've got 5 different ways for people to hire me and different options for people. But what we actually see is that if you master one, put all your attention on one thing first, get that consistency there, get that consistency in the income that's coming in, and the sales, then you put in another one and another one. That's when we really start to see the most success. I think I'll actually do a whole other video on how to be consistent, especially if you're a free spirit, especially if you like to kind of go with what is inspiring to you, which is what I see with a lot of my clients. So I'll create a whole video on that. But in terms of a habit to actually implement, I'll put that in your, in your diary. Habit number one is to know what your profit generating activities are. I talk about these all the time because all of us are here to run businesses that create profit, right? Number 2 is to have a calendar that does the work for you. Really have a calendar that you can trust and isn't just something that you're like, I know that I should be looking at that, but I don't. And so then I feel behind. And so I'm stressed. So I'm just going to ignore it altogether. And then number 3 is to implement consistency. And the more that that becomes a habit, the more likely you are to start to see success in all of your other habits. And then maybe you can start stacking on new habits and other habits. And maybe you're now going to do run every morning or something. You're going to stack in those other habits as well. But in terms of business success habits, I think these are the 3 that I would start implementing now, so that you've hit your stride by the time you get to January. So let me know if those are helpful. Let me know what habits you're really focusing on implementing now, and if you are going to use the last quarter of the year as the pregame for next year. I want to know, what are you doing? What are you pre-gaming? And then we can all cheer you on.